right, James, I got a question for you.
All right, I got an answer.
Okay. Do you know Steve-O?
Yes, from Jackass.
Yeah. Have you followed the exploits of Steve-O recently?
No.
All right, so he's doing this comedy tour, where he's preparing for this comedy tour, or some kind of comedy movie that he's making. And one of the stunts he was gonna do was he was gonna go and get plastic surgery to get breast implants, and then he was gonna go to Sturgis dressed up as like a woman. He was gonna wear like a low cut shirt and like booty shorts, and bait men into coming to talk to him. And then it was like, oh, surprise, I'm Steve-O.
Okay.
So Steve-O just thought it would be like a funny bit. He got to about 10 hours before surgery, and I guess some way, somehow, the anesthesiologist and the other people involved in the surgery kind of figured out what he was getting the surgery for. So they were like, no, we're not doing this. We're out. Right? We're backing out of this.
So I thought he was going to put on some fake boobs. He's going to ask you to get the whole surgery?
He was going to get the implants, yeah.
Why the hell would you want to do that?
Well, because he thought it would be funny.
I don't think you need to go to those links just to make something funny.
You don't got to tell me. You got to tell Steve-O. Well, Steve-O figured it out, right? So he was telling this story. I guess he did an interview, and he said after he got denied the surgery, he went to like a grocery store, and he says he had noticed that the person at the register was like a trans person.
Okay.
And he was like, let me ask you something. And he tells this person at the register like his whole plan, his whole idea. And the trans person is like, yeah, no, that's really kind of messed up to the trans community. You know, they made the comment like, yeah, you think that's funny, but in a way you're also inciting violence against trans people, or you're promoting violence against trans people, because you think it's funny that you're going to get beat up because you're tricking these men into thinking you're a woman, but you get the boob job and you're going to these lengths of doing so, but trans people get beaten up for you know,
which
going on a date with men. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it kind of put in this perspective of Steve-O, and he's like, yeah, you know, after I talked to this person, I kind of realized like, oh, what I thought would have been funny because he thought it would just be funny because it's him being beaten up, right? That was the funny bit to him. He didn't consider, oh, I might be making the trans community look worse or bad from this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best laid plans now is the best ideas, and I mean, I see what he was trying to do, but I didn't really get the intent on that. I just thought that was just kind of a little bit too stupid.
It is like a strange thing for him to try to do. You know, I mean, I guess it's because like he's just been trying to think of like comedy bits, and he said like he ran it by some other trans people at like some comedy shows of his, and they approved of it. One individual doesn't speak for the entirety of the group anyway. So it's just, you know, it's kind of like a lesson of, hey, maybe what you think is funny isn't really funny. It's slightly offensive to somebody. But I found it interesting that like he almost got to the surgery.
That's wow. I can't believe it. I thought he was gonna put on like some fake bra and something like that, stuff with tissue.
No, yeah, he was gonna go the whole 9 yards with it.
And we're sure Steve-O's not on drugs again.
I don't think he is.
Because I'm like, to do something like that, man, you have to be straight up on drugs,
right?
And I mean to dress up as cosplay. I'm not talking about people who actually, you know, transition and, you know, go through the surgery of wanting to be a woman. I'm talking about people that just want to play like that just to get beat up. You have to be seriously on drugs.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, I mean, he is like a stuntman of sorts, and he's
True.
used to putting himself through pain. You know, I mean, look at all the Jackass movies. Look at Jackass 4, he did sober, right? And then he was getting kicked and bit and all kinds of things in that movie.
That's true. He was.
I think they even did the porta potty slingshot with him in that film again.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I think they did. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while either, but it's...
I know I was a big Jackass fan.
Yeah, me neither. I watched it a little bit back in the day, and I've seen the movies, but it really is just like, I don't know, they're just hurting themselves the whole time.
Better than what comes on now, which what's that show? Ridiculousness. Like they have
Ridiculousness.
a marathon of that every day.
Dude, well, it's because Rob Dyrdek almost practically owns like the MTV like slots now.
Is that the reason why the Ridiculousness comes on like every freaking time slot?
Yeah, it's something to do with like the contract or some way that
it comes on every single day. Marathons of it.
Hold on, Rob Dyrdek Ridiculousness.
Like that has to be a reason why this show still comes. Like I looked at the TV guide, and it comes on every single day, and you only got
every
like 1 or 2
day,
episodes.
hours, blocks of it.
Yeah, it's just blocks of it. Like, what's going on? What's the story on this? There has to be something bigger than that. Because even 16 and Pregnant, they don't even show that as often. I don't even like that crap. What, Catfish? I think they showed like 1 episode of Catfish. But other than that, it's just ridiculous. And I know MTV2 plays nothing but sitcoms. So maybe MTV2 plays like 16 and Pregnant and all the other crappy shows. But that the original MTV channel plays nothing but ridiculousness every single time, and I'm trying to understand why.
I'm finding that answer for you right now.
I got to get an answer on that.
So here's something. According to Quora, there was, I guess this is like a automated answer kind of thing, but it says MTV airs Ridiculousness frequently because the show has proven to be a successful and popular program for the network. The format is generally well received, with the blend of user-generated content and humorous commentary resonating with many viewers. Additionally, Ridiculousness is a relatively inexpensive program for MTV to produce compared to scripted shows, making it a cost-effective filler for their programming schedule. The consistent ratings and audience engagement the show generates likely contribute to MTV's decision to air it extensively throughout the day. So essentially, it's just cheap and easy to make, and people love it.
Oh, that's sad, man.
But you know, the same can be said for True TV with the Impractical Jokers show.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Because they are up and down that channel as well. And they're like not even all the Jokers are there anymore. I think one of the guys ended up leaving. But that show's been going on for years. And again, it's like Ridiculousness, like all day, every day.
You got to be kidding me. So because it's inexpensive, that's why they keep airing frequently.
Yeah.
And you mean tell me there are actually people out there that actually are watching the show on a daily basis?
It's got 38 seasons.
30. God, man, that is crazy. And that's sad. That's crazy and sad, man, that MTV has took a nosedive that deep.
And I mean, also, Rob Dyrdek is actually like a really smart like businessman.
No, you know what? No, him and Rob, Rob and Big used to be one of my favorite shows on MTV.
I think it was everybody's favorite show on MTV for a while. Rob and Big was like a cool show.
Yeah, man, they were real cool together, man. I really enjoyed their relationship.
Yeah,
you know, and you know when Big passed away, it hurt Rob big time mentally. He was jacked up mentally.
Yeah,
because he used to do drugs and stuff like that.
Oh, Rob did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I didn't know. Well, that's not entirely surprising, but I didn't really know that either.
Yeah, it was pretty bad for him. It was slow going for him for a minute.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you're right.
Then he came back with Ridiculousness.
It's a good show, but I just didn't think it needed to come on every day, frequently.
Yeah. Well, unless you got a cheaper show to pitch to MTV, I don't think it's really going to go away anytime soon.
I don't, Jacob. I don't. I wish I did, but I don't.
So James, I've been able to be on a little staycation recently, and it's been nice. Yeah, it's been nice. I've had to burn my vacation time because, you know, as we've said before, I'm moving, and unfortunately, my job is like, well, you got to use them or lose them. You know, yeah. Even if I transfer and go to part time, I would lose my vacation time because I'm not a full-time employee anymore. So I had a chance to be on a little staycation, and it was nice. I got to clean my apartment a little bit. I got to sleep in a little bit. You know, it's nice to not have to be forced to listen to stuff you don't want to listen to for 8 hours.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you don't have to worry about people eating cats and dogs.
Yep. All kinds of crazy conspiracies. Nope. I had 3 days of peace. The world was a lot brighter. Colors stood out more.
That's good.
It was good. And I got to enjoy some of the staycation listening to one of Kevin Smith's new podcasts. I'll give you the backstory on this, because it's Kevin Smith for a while has had his podcast behind a paywall on his own like website called That Kevin Smith Club. And it's, I don't know, it's like $5 or $10 a month or whatever, but it's one of those things where I already pay for enough subscription services, and I just don't want to throw another $10 to another subscription.
Yeah, I can understand that one.
So while I would love to listen to like his whole back catalog of podcasts, because he's got all his shows on there, all the old shows, the new shows, like he's got all his content on this website. And I would love to listen to it, but I just don't want to throw him to $10, unfortunately.
So why don't you just get rid of the subscriptions that you don't use that much?
That's fair. I should probably do that, and maybe I'll reallocate my budget to subscribe to him.
Yeah.
But the point of the story is Kevin Smith and his daughter have a new podcast out, and they released it on iHeart. So I heard the trailer for it, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta listen to it," because it's just been so long since I listened to Kevin Smith like content. Yeah. And it's been really fun to listen to. It's a lot like his Smodcast show that he did with Scott Mosier. It's a lot like that. Like the same kind of form. It's just with his daughter. It's just been such a joy to listen to, because I remember always listening to these podcasts like when I first moved to Houston, right? And I was, driving to school or driving to work or whatever. Houston traffic, it takes an hour to get anywhere in this town. So I would listen to his podcast to kind of like entertain me as I went to my various things.
Okay, I don't blame you on that one.
Yeah, and it was always kind of inspiring listening to him, just because they would always like come up with like comedy bits, or they would make up things, and it was always a fun show. So I've gotten to kind of like reminisce while listening to him talk to his daughter. Like I was cleaning my apartment and I just like listening to all these podcasts and stuff. And I found it interesting because the way they produced it, and I always have to think about this now because this is my job, right? The way they produced it was they very obviously just recorded like a block of like 4 or 5 hours of content, and they just cut it up between episodes, but it's all kind of out of order.
Yeah, I think I've seen some more podcasts do that before too, so they're not the only ones I've seen that do that before. Yeah, which is smart.
They'll take certain pieces of conversations, and then that'll just be a segment, essentially, kind of like what we do, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But what they'll do is they'll, like, you can tell by the way they talk, like, oh, this was actually their first recording, and here it is on episode 5. You know what I mean? It's like you can kind of tell. No, not exactly like how, like the choppiness, but just how they talk about certain subjects. Or like,
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this is the name of this episode, and then later on they'll reference that name again, but it's very clearly from the same conversation. So it's just interesting, just kind of trying to figure out like when they record it and where the conversations like fit.
Okay, I follow you now.
Yeah. And then another interesting thing I found about it was like they don't have an out cue or anything. They just like end.
Which I do like podcasts that do that, by the way.
Yeah, they just like have an ending, or like they just stop talking and then like it's the music.
Yeah,
or the
I like that.
Yeah.
I've always liked podcasts that do that.
Yeah, and then they have like a post roll of this has been such and such productions for more blah 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 blah, which I think I want to evolve ours into doing that.
Yeah, me too.
I guess this is a little shop talk right now, but I'm just getting ideas of their show of like what to do. In the future.
It's a form of flattery. It's not a form of flattery. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've just had a great time like listening to it, and it's just been so nice to listen to Kevin Smith products again. You never texted that lady from the bar?
Yeah, we did. I texted her. Well, we went out last week, and we went out and got we were supposed to go to a sushi bar, but we weren't able to go there. So, because I went over her house, I Ubered over there because I figured that we are gonna get drinks, and I don't want just in case one of us get inebriated, we'll have a way to get home. So I went to her house, and she has a son, and she wasn't able to find a babysitter for him.
Oh, that's awkward.
So, well, she called her cousin. He spent the night over at the cousin's house, and we kind of lost the reservation that we had, so we just went to like a little nice little restaurant close to a nice little bar, and we had a good time.
Nothing else to that story?
No. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too violent. It was just we had a very good time. But I thought Bill get tripped up because I was like, oh man, so I'm not gonna go out on another date with this girl because I thought that because we talked about that earlier, her having her because I called her earlier to make sure everything was good to go, and she thought everything was good to go, but the babysitter had flipped out on her. Hey, not flipped out on her, but just kind of canceled out on her because she had something that popped up. So I was like, okay, cool. So it looks like we're gonna get stood up again. I'm tired of putting in reservations. Like, let's get that out the way. I'm tired of putting in reservations for restaurants. Every time I put in a reservation for a restaurant, it always falls through.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so I was kind of getting a little discouraged, but she was able to find a babysitter to come through, and that helped out a lot.
Where did y'all eat at?
Oh, I forgot. I think it's the Eagle.
The Eagle.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. It's over there on Westheimer, right where we got those. We were looking for those suits.
Oh, right around the same area.
Yeah, well, we were looking for those suits for the wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like right in that shopping area. It's a nice restaurant. It's a commonplace restaurant, fine dining. You can't go in there with your pants sagging, or you can't wear hats and all this stuff. You got to at least wear a collar shirt or a regular shirt and some nice jeans.
Oh yeah, do they got a guy that like kicks you out?
No, they don't have nothing like that. But like I said, you have to go there dressed a certain type of way. You just can't go there dressed any type of way. That's for sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
well, that's cool. I honestly didn't think there would be a follow up to the story. I was just throwing it out there for you.
Oh yeah. Now I forgot to talk about this last week because we were trying to hurry up and get through the pod and talk about the 100th episode and stuff. So I totally forgot about this story.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't think there was going to be a follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Is there going to be another date, or is this just
don't know about that one, but
no?
Nah, probably not. But it was still cool though. Everything was still cool. We're good friends. I'll just say that we're very good friends.
On the Go podcast with Jacob and James.
It would truly spice up your life.
I got to be featured on another podcast recently called the Admigos podcast. They're a podcast that's produced by the organization Ad2 Houston. They're a subset of the American Advertising Federation, and they're an organization I'm a part of, actually.
That's a lot. You said a lot. You said a whole lot of word salad.
Yeah, I did. I said a lot. So it's Ad2 Houston is the organization, and the podcast is called Ad2 Houston Presents the Admigos podcast. Now, this is a podcast I have also produced for about the last 3 years, and we've always just like interviewed other people between the age of like 18 to 32. We basically interview people just breaking into their careers, right? And okay. I mean, it's not just like audio; it's basically the advertising world. So you have copywriters, you have graphic designers, you have brand and marketing people, salespeople, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was featured on an episode because, again, I'm leaving, and I'll be damned if I leave without being on the show that I produce.
Gotta pull the Kanye. And just said, hold on a minute, and I'll let you finish, but I got something to say.
Yeah, I did kind of pull a Kanye. I was like, well, it's my turn to be interviewed. I even scheduled my own session. I was like, hey guys, we're gonna record my episode on this day.
Oh, that's dope.
Well, I'm like the executive producer of the show, so essentially I get to sit down and be interviewed and just kind of talk about my journey in Houston and journey into like broadcasting and radio and podcast production and whatnot.
And how did it go?
I haven't edited it yet or produced it yet, but I feel like I got some of the things I wanted to stay on there, and there's so much more that I didn't get to, and I'm afraid to like listen back to it almost because I think I'm just gonna be like, oh no, I should have said this and I forgot to include this and blah 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 blah. But I made a big deal about the theater that I worked at with everyone, right? We worked together. Richard and I worked together. That's where I met Kevin and Kevin and Isaac and Chris and you know, everybody else I know from there. And so I got to spend a good bit of time just like shining light on you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because I made the comment. I was like, you know, if I don't step foot in that theater, I don't get to where I am now. Kevin and Isaac and Chris and we did the Dungeons and Dragons podcast. You know, I got to kind of practice podcasting with them, and then eventually we moved on to, like, we had a podcast with Richard. You know, we tried doing that, and then Kevin and I would always try projects, or like there were a couple like side projects came from me working there, and so I just got to highlight like, oh yeah, if it wasn't for this theater, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I wanted to make sure I shouted you guys out quite a bit. So.
Well, I'm about to say I appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah,
and you know, when it comes out, I'll share it, and you know, maybe I'll play like a chunk of it during one of our shows. And
yeah, you should.
We'll kind of like cross promote it that way, because I also plugged our show on the interview at the end. I was like, oh, by the way, I have a podcast of my own, and my co-host will kill me if I don't mention it. So
very much so.
So I got to plug us. So this is a little cross promotion, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. The episode's probably going to drop at the end of October.
Oh, okay. So you'll be gone by then.
Yeah, I'll be just about gone around that same time, which I think it'll time out just right. Honestly, with what I said in the episode, I think it'll time out just right.
Well, I definitely can't wait to listen.
Yeah, I'll be sure to share it with everybody. I hope I did well in the interview. Is my only thing.
I think you did. You did.
It's such a blur. If you've ever been interviewed, it is a blur, because you're trying to get all the things you want to say out, and then you know you have questions and follow up questions. Like we talked about AI and we talked about other general things. So it was just a matter of me like getting back to like, yeah. Here's what I think about AI, but also around.
Because you don't want to sound long-winded, and you want to get as much answers as you possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we always just record up to like maybe an hour or so at a time. So it's just like, all right, I know I have an hour to like fill the space.
God, that's funny.
It is, but you know, hopefully it came out good. And then, like I said, I'll share it and I'll make sure we kind of cross promote it when it comes out. So, you know, hey, there's something to look forward to. I was featured on a podcast, our first crossover in a way, when you think about it.
I'll take it. So, anything at this point, I'll take it.
Well, I mean, hey, that's about all I got for today. What about you?
I think that's all for today, man.
Cool, man. Well, hey, without further ado, if you want to email us, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, On The Go with Jacob and James. It's all one word. You can find James on Instagram at
James9794.
You can find me on Instagram at jacobdantone.audio, and you can also find us on YouTube, On The Go with Jacob and James. We have I kept wanting to say we have Mondays, but we don't have Mondays. We have episodes coming out every Monday and Friday. We also have Joel and the Monkey releasing once a month on Wednesdays. So we have our first podcast under our On The Go network umbrella, James.
And we're going to also have James's big music thing, which is very coming soon. Closer than you think.
Good. I'm excited for that. That'll be a fun one.
Yep.
Be on the lookout for all the new content. And without further ado, I'm on the go. James is on the go. And we're all on the go. Goodbye.